Hey everybody, this is Jonathan Miller once again with the Hometown Historian channel. We're here, I was just helping a friend out moving a desk, and we're here at the Coleman Chapel. This is actually going to be moved. It's a building we talked about before. It does not have National Registry of Historical Places or Buildings protections, so thankfully there's I gotta look it up, and then I'll do another little thing at the end, because I sort of did this spur of the moment. I'll get a little bit more information for you guys to talk about, and maybe get some pictures of the inside as well. I just want to sort of walk around it just so you can see. It's just such a cool building, built by the Colemans. Not sure if it's, when we get up here a little further, I'll point the camera over. There's used to be an inn. It was actually a house built for the patriarch Robert Coleman's daughter, Anne. She was the one that had the love affair with James Buchanan, our 15th president of the United States. And this was back when he was a district attorney. He was out working out of where the Lebanon Historical Society is now. He was working out of the district attorney's office there. He worked out of Lancaster. He has, of course, the home there in Lancaster that you can go and visit. Really cool place. But I'm not sure if they built this in honor of Anne, because Robert Coleman, her father, did not like James Buchanan. I guess their families knew each other from over in Ireland, and James was not good enough for his daughter, and he put a nix to the whole thing. There's also a story that James Buchanan was not necessarily faithful to Anne. There's also another story where he sent her a letter that said, "Don't want to be with you," and basically, whatever the version of the story is, or something else, she took a whole bunch of laudanum and killed herself. It's basically, you just go to sleep with something like that, and it was a really sad event. Actually, they had a second daughter, I believe, as well, that did almost the same thing with the laudanum down in Philadelphia, where another sister lived. So it's a family, like, we want to do a series on the Coleman family. A lot of awesome things about them, but also a lot of tragedy. It really is an extraordinarily interesting family. They were one of the, most prestigious families in America in that time period, from late 1700s, when Robert Coleman bought the Cornwall iron furnace and a lot of the works that went with that, until 1930s, when the family sort of faded away. But this chapel, whether that was built in Anne's honor, or this is sort of their Gothic architectural style. I'll try to see if I can find who the architect was as well. I can always talk to my friend Jared. He knows the Colemans as well as anybody. And so let's check the church out. Alright, so this is the church. The only thing that's a shame is they have the air conditioning unit right there underneath the window. It's just so beautiful, but it is cool that this is being saved. There's this wedding venue down in Lancaster. They saved the Star Barn. They've also bought this, because it sounded like it was just going to get torn down, because they wanted to make this into, another commercial property. It's right next to the Rudders here, and thankfully they bought it. They're going to take it apart piece by piece and then put it back together and use it as like a chapel for weddings and whatnot. So it's really, really beautiful building. I've always just gone by it. I've never, look at the steeple there. I never actually stopped here. Hey, so the camera kept on going out. Whatever's cold for whatever reason. It's not really that cold, but it just decides to go out constantly. So we'll get you a view for the front from here. But really neat place. You look at how beautiful it is, and thank goodness it got sold. And right over here is the house that was Anne Coleman's, that was built for her. They do say it's got some hauntings and stuff like that. Who knows? Maybe Anne's still going around there, wringing her hands looking for James Buchanan. So I got a picture here from Lebtown. They had an article on the church. I was trying to find any kind of information I could. There really is not a whole lot out there, unfortunately. But I did get some in relation, and maybe some assumptions, sort of educated guesses, I guess, of what the purpose of it was, looking at the timing of when it was built and that kind of stuff. But anyways, Lebtown had put an article up. This was bought by Stone Gables Estates. It's in E-Town. They're sort of a wedding venue type thing like that, but they're the ones that rescued this, bought it. They're going to take it apart stone by stone and put it all back together the same way, and it'll be like a wedding chapel. Sort of what it was used for here as of late until the business closed. But it was built around 1890. So Ann Coleman would have died in the teens or the 20s. I have to look at the exact date because I'll do a story on that in James Buchanan. But I guess the reason I put the connection together is Ann Coleman's house was right across this, not right across the street, but pretty nearby. So you'd think the connection, but I don't think it's that at all. What I think is more reasonable is right in that area is where they had the Colebrook iron furnace that the Colemans owned, and also just sort of northwest of that would have been where they had the North Lebanon, I think, furnace or foundry or forges. That was right south of the Coleman estate known as Mount Lebanon. It makes sense because the Colemans did do this. They'd build chapels, like really ornate, beautiful Gothic chapels that they built for their workers. The church that they helped to build over in Cornwall, the United Methodist Church, that was in part built for workers and stuff like that. And it had that same Gothic revival style. There is another Coleman Chapel, the Coleman Memorial Chapel, which I believe was built in memorial for James Coleman, who was the 14-year-old son of one of either George Coleman or Dawson Coleman. It was one of the Colemans, and he died in a horseback riding accident in 1874, and they built that for the workers, but also in memorial of their son. And it's very much in the same style as this one. So I think when it comes down to educated guess, that's what this chapel was for. It was for, just the Coleman Chapel built by the Colemans for the workers, because there's a line of white houses there west of it, that those were all workers' homes. So it makes sense, and it was a large operation. And just south of that would have been where the Donamore Mansion was, and the Donamore Estate with the Donamore or Dudley furnace. So there were a lot of them right in that area. So that's what makes the most sense. This is a picture of the inside. It's a beautiful, beautiful church, but that's what the Colemans were renowned for. They didn't do anything halfway. They had anything that they put together, that's how they did it. The Coleman Memorial Chapel was built by, our architect was Luther Simon from Harrisburg. He did a bunch of projects for them. I wouldn't be shocked if he did this one either. So as always, I want to say thank you for coming along, and we will see you all about town.